Welcome into the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey. Today we're taking a look at some Cowboys training camp standouts from head coach Mike McCarthy himself. He was asked by Clarence Hill, hey, who's impressing you? Who's standing out? Looking like they're going to take a leap, etc. He had 8 names, plus he said all of the safety room. So we'll mention all the safeties, Hooker, Wilson, Bell, Thomas. I think we'll put Israel Mukwamo in there as well. So good job safeties, but 8 individual names that he mentioned. Now, we are in a sub-battle, once again, this month against the NFC East. We have the very narrow lead. I don't know if that lead's going to stay because the smaller channels can kind of maximize their sub-growth a little bit higher because we're so large. So let's make sure we win. It's like 50% of you are watching the show but are not subscribed. So change that. Hit that sub button right now. Cowboy training camp standout number 1 per Big Mike, Jalen Tolbert. And by the way, it's not just McCarthy or Cowboys media, or the analysts, whatever, that have had praise for the third-year wide receiver. It's also the quarterback, Dak Prescott. He said, quote, every year the guy who I feel like I spend the most time with in the offseason goes and has a huge year. So I don't want to put that pressure on him, but we spent a lot of time together. Last year it was CeeDee. And I'm not going to say he's going to have a CeeDee-type year as he did last year, but it's usually a young guy that anytime I send that text message out to come train, they're there. Doesn't matter what time, what day. That was Tolbert this offseason. I'll tell him, I'm sure if he watches this, and I'll tell him to his face, he hasn't done anything yet. Another guy that I'm not going to put a ceiling on what his potential can be. As long as he continues to approach the game the way he has, with the intensity, with the focus, and with the expectation to be a number 1 guy, no telling how great he can be. This is the head coach and the quarterback saying the same thing, that they are pleased with Tolbert, they are impressed by Tolbert. They are excited about Jaylen Tolbert. That should not be ignored. That cannot be ignored. That's repeated drums, steady drum beats of, hey, this guy, this guy, this guy. Sometimes they're wrong. Sometimes the bright lights come on and they don't handle things the same way. But everything is pointing stock up for Jaylen Tolbert. The CeeDee Lamb absence, which remains a negative thing, don't get me wrong. The positive of it is players like Jaylen Tolbert are getting more opportunities, and maybe that benefits the Cowboys at the end of the season in a positive way. So are you buying the Jalen Tolbert hype? Type in Y for yes, N for no. It is the pinned comment, by the way, on today's video, so if the ad happens to come here on the YouTube side of things, great. Ignore the ad. Take advantage and head down there. Y for yes, N for no. Let's talk Jalen Brooks, the other Jalen, one of the 3 Jalens. Jalen Cropper had a pretty good day on Saturday, by the way, which is kind of funny. He also drawing some praise from Mike McCarthy. He is still fighting for a roster spot, but I think Brooks has done the little things pretty well. I think he's a coaching staff favorite for the effort, the physicality, the toughness, some special team stuff right there. Remember, Tolbert basically got benched on special teams last year. And they kind of put Brooks back out there, at least some of the time there. I think there are 4 wide receiver spots that are locks on this roster. CeeDee Lamb, Cooks, Tolbert, and Turpin, who's kind of a gadgety receiver, gets some running back work. Web back, if you want to call him that even, to borrow a line from Stephen Jones. At least Jalen Brooks fighting for a spot. And other guys have impressed too. But if McCarthy's mentioning Brooks, that normally means it's normally a good sign for the player because the coaching staff has input. They make decisions. And if the coaching staff likes you, typically ends up going a pretty long way. But that battle, I don't think, is over anytime soon. Might very well come down to special teams because that wide receiver 5-ish, 4.5, if you want to call it that, since Turpin's kind of a athlete gadget player, they normally have to help on special teams. GameTime is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. You can see the view from your seat before you buy, kind of live photo style, and move it around, get a good angle of it. All-in pricing shows your total cost up front, and you can buy tickets in seconds with just 2 taps. Keep an eye out for their last-minute deals, even an hour after it starts sometimes. Flash deals, sponsored deals for whatever event you're going to, from football to comedy to theater and everything else in between. Zone deals are fantastic if you can find them. They're not always available. But you pick the section, GameTime picks the seats for big-time savings in the process. Because who cares if you're in seat 7 or seat 15? Does it really matter all that much? Go to GameTime.co, download the GameTime app, create your account, and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but again, create your account and redeem code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off. Download GameTime today for last-minute tickets, the lowest price all guaranteed. Maybe one of your biggest training camp standouts is DeMarvion Overshown, the linebacker. And this is a positive thing for Dallas. I do wonder how much of this is carrying over from how good and impressive he was this time last year. Hopefully it continues into the preseason. In fact, I don't know if I want him out there in the preseason. He might just not be needing it. Mike McCarthy saying this: Overshown jumps off the tape at you. There's no question there. He is not the only one offering praise for Overshown. Jerry Jones saying, quote, Overshown is going to get you excited. Excited for him, excited for us. Now, I think with Jerry specifically, it's probably coming from conversations with guys like McCarthy and McClay and Zimmer and Schottenheimer and less of like, well, that's what I'm seeing out there. I think it's conversations with the people who know a bit more about what they're talking about. But I am excited for Overshown. I'll still put it in the cautiously optimistic category, but I will be disappointed if he doesn't look really good this year. I'm not saying he's going to suddenly become a Pro Bowl linebacker, but I think this linebacker room in general has the opportunity to be better than what it was last year. And I think there's more confidence in that than maybe any other position group on this roster, quite frankly. Kendricks is there. I think he's a great vet mentor for Overshown. Damone Clark is having a good training camp. You'll use Micah Parsons in creative ways. You drafted Maurice Leafau. I still think the end of this season, there's a real chance that Overshown is this team's number one linebacker. Are you buying or selling that? Type 1 for yes, Overshown will emerge as the Cowboys' top linebacker come season's end. Or 2 for no, you ain't. Rico Dowdle is next up here, the running back. And I'm glad Mike put him on here. I'm not surprised for reasons that we'll get into. But I want Dowdle to be the quote-unquote lead back. Now, lead back is probably a bit deceptive because it's going to be a committee no matter what. Not that most things are a committee, but I think even more so in Dallas. I thought Dowdle had earned the opportunity to get more touches last season. I would have liked to have gotten him more involved in red zone, in short yardage. He was pretty efficient in short yardage last year. He outplayed Zeke in short yardage last year, by the way. This coaching staff has always been high on Rico Dowdle. I know there are many of you who like Malik Davis, understandably so. This staff has always put Dowdle ahead of Davis. Always. They just like what he does more. And as open as the competition is in this running back room, you got Zeke, Dowdle, Deuce Vaughn is banged up with a hamstring, Royce Freeman, Davis. We'll get to Hunter Luepke kind of in a second. Connor, Nate Pete, maybe he's got a little bit of juice. We'll see more in the preseason there. I think that the best runner on this team is Dowdle, and I hope that he gets a chance to be the number one back. So come season's end, who leads the Dallas Cowboys in rushing yards this year? RD for Rico Dowdle, RF for Royce Freeman, EE for Ezekiel Elliott, or O for somebody else altogether. Now, I don't think Hunter Luepke will be your leading rusher this year. I'd be pretty shocked if that ended up happening. But I do think this team is trying to get him involved. And cross-training has emerged for Luepke. Now, that means one of two things. They don't know what they're doing with you, or they really do have a plan for you. It's kind of the polar extremes. Sounds like it is the latter for Luepke. Here's what Jerry Jones said on him. Like the work that our fullback is doing. There's only one fullback. It's clearly Hunter. He's very instrumental, of course, going to be a big part of this offense, and he's earning it. Mike loves his versatility. We all do. Now, look, he's cross-training at tight end. Not so much running back, but tight end. That's noteworthy, too, because McCarthy has said he buckets fullback and tight end together in the past. Now, they didn't really do that last year, maybe because Luepke and guys like Princeton Fant and Schoonmaker were all first-year players, and they didn't want to overload those guys. But I do think that tight end 4 spot and fullback 1 spot might be available for one guy. The other main competition then for Luepke would appear to come from Princeton Fant, who has drawn multiple different praise and shout-outs and positivity and all that good stuff from various people connected to the Cowboys. Todd Archer mentioned him. Michael Gelkin mentioned him. Now Jerry Jones and Mike McCarthy mentioning him. They've all had praise for Fant. Now he is fighting, make no mistake, for a roster spot. And it is, in a frustrating way, because I think it's a bit disrespectful, frankly, funny that people keep calling him Noah Fant. It's not his name. DMN did it. Fort Worth Star-Telegram both said Noah Fant in their articles. It's his cousin. It's not the same person. It's Princeton Fant. So I want to see what he can do in the preseason. You know, Dak, in a positive way, has kind of coached him hard at times at training camp, especially last year, which normally means That's intentional. That's a player that they like and are trying to motivate and maximize. The way I look at it, there's one, maybe two spots available for Hendershot, John Stevens, who this team also likes, Princeton Fant, Brevin Spann-Ford, who has fans. Maybe Fant is that guy. Maybe he's not. There's no guarantee. So does Princeton Fant make the roster for the Cowboys? A for yes, B for no. Go ahead and sound off for me in the comment section of today's video. Let's go back to defense here. It's not a huge surprise that the offensive-minded head coach named 5 offensive players and 3 defensive players, right? Jourdan Lewis, though, has been really good at training camp. He has consistently made some plays. Mike McCarthy said, quote, he's having a hell of a camp. And I agree. Maybe it's gotten overshadowed by the other DB on this list and Kalen Carson, but Lewis has been good. He looks confident. He looks physical. He looks even maybe a bit quicker from his return injury. I think the Mike Zimmer scheme fits him pretty well. I think Lewis is a pretty smart, high football IQ player, and Zimmer loves those types of guys. Yeah, the completion percent was high. He's a nickel corner. It's always high. I mean, go look at Bland's jump from 2021 to 2022. He was playing the nickel. About 10% lower for J. Lou, by the way. So I'm excited about him in 2023 as the veteran, or 2024 as the vet slot corner. Finally, there's DaRon Bland. With Trayvon Diggs out with his coming back from injury, Bland has been the number 1 corner. And to an extent, opposing teams have just not really thrown at him. They're a little bit skittish to do so, and I completely understand that. Or the opposing offense in camp, obviously, meaning Dak. No one can really beat Bland consistently. Cooks has done it sometimes, but not that many other guys. So a trio of Diggs, Bland, and Jourdan Lewis, I think the Cowboys might have found someone in Kalen Carson, does bode well on defense.